And what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Divij podcast, episode 134, I think is where we're at. I really appreciate you guys tuning in and sticking with us. Man, I'm really excited for this one because as you guys have been following the journey, I'm sure you've noticed that I've been talking a lot about things like seed oils, sunscreen, health and wellness, longevity, and it's things that I'm very passionate about. And so I'm also very eager to learn about the different parts of, biohacking, let's call it, that, you can adopt to extend your life and to make your life better. And so what I've been really trying to do is curate conversations with people that are experts in specific things. We've had an eye doctor on, we've had all types of people on the show, but this episode in particular is very special because we have an expert on things like chlorella, can't even say it, spirulina, and things like algae. And so I'm super excited to talk to Dr. Catharine Arnston. She's a PhD and MBA, founder of a company called Energy Bits. Yep. And she's an algae nutrition expert. And today she's going to give us all the science and data that we need to understand what are these things, how are they beneficial, are they a scam? Are they not a scam? Are they real? And she just told me she's turning 70 and she looks fantastic. So honestly, whatever she's doing right now is definitely working.
Some of that.
Yeah, and so that voice, guys, that's Dr. Catharine Arnston. Thank you so much for coming today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me. And algae is the best kept secret, but I'm going to break through the silence and help people understand, because it was the first life on Earth almost 4 billion years ago. It was spirulina, which is a bacteria. We'll talk about that later on. So something pretty spiritual about being the first life on Earth. So I actually now call spirulina spiritualina.
Whoa. Are we talking pre-Jesus or is this after Jesus?
Oh, 4 billion years ago? Jesus was just 2,000 years ago. So this is 4 billion. It was the first life on Earth. First life, and it's still here. So
what do you say to people that say Adam and Eve were the first life on Earth?
This is before Adam and Eve. This is before anything. No plants, no fish, nothing lived. Spirulina, which is a cyanobacteria, was the first life. It's all documented in science. So,
okay. I think we have to go to God for a second. I'm very curious.
I think this was a gift to us from the universe, God, Mother Nature, whatever you want to call it. Nobody knows why it started growing, but before spirulina or cyanobacteria, Earth was just gas and water. Nothing lived. And then the single cell organism, an anaerobic cell, started growing. And after a billion, and it released oxygen while it was growing. And after 1 billion years, other life forms could grow, including larger aerobic cells, which then led to other plants and life forms, and then life continued to evolve into what we have now. But yeah, it's pretty wild. It's called endosymbiotic theory. You can check it out online.
I can't even say those words.
I know.
Well, we're going to get into it, guys. We're going to get into the science.
Yeah.
But, before we dive into the science, I can see my dog staring at me. Hey, dog. I want to learn a little bit about you just to kind of set for the audience to understand who Dr. Catharine Arnston is. So can you talk to me a little bit about your background, like where you come from, how you got into this space?
Yeah, because you think, how does somebody become an algae expert? It sounds like I must have come out of the ocean dripping seaweed and maybe part of a Walt Disney movie one day. My nickname is the Algae Gal, but I don't have any seaweed dripping from my hair, I assure you. So the story is I'm actually Canadian. Born in Toronto, but I've lived all over Canada, including Vancouver. And all my family, I only have 2 sisters left. They all live in Canada. And I've been living in Boston, Massachusetts for the last 35 years and recently moved to Miami. But I mentioned Canada because, and I did an MBA up there. 17 years ago, my younger sister, who I'm very close to, developed breast cancer. I want to assure everyone she completely healed, and we celebrate her being cancer-free every year. But as she was preparing for her chemotherapy, her oncologist recommended she change her diet to an alkaline diet. Now, first of all, an oncologist is a cancer specialist. So this was a very well-informed doctor, not her yoga instructor, not her neighbor, telling her to change her diet. So it was advice that she took seriously. The trouble was the doctor didn't tell her what an alkaline diet was or why it was specifically good for her. So my sister called me because I love her, and I'm just a very good researcher, always have been. So I just went online and found out it was a plant-based diet, and it was, I thought, because of the chlorophyll, which is very alkalining and builds your immune system. Also, it turns out that there was a German scientist by the name of Otto Warburg, Warburg, who won a Nobel Prize in the 30s for discovering that cancer cannot exist in cells that are slightly alkaline. Now, there's a scale of 0 to 14 of acidity to alkalinity, and so you want your cells to be slightly alkaline because then cancer can't start growing there. So I have to believe that between the chlorophyll and the anti-cancer capabilities of plants, that's why my sister's doctor wanted her to change her diet. So I helped her figure out what to eat. She did heal. She did go through chemo. Then I learned about plant-based nutrition, saw how powerful it was with all these nutrients. And so I decided to give up my corporate career of 25 years, go back to school, studied nutrition, and then I put my curriculum together teaching people plant-based nutrition. We were talking about this earlier. I was telling people what not to eat all the time, and what to eat, which was mostly vegetables. But I got so much pushback. People say, I don't like vegetables, they're too much work, or they give me gas, or I throw them out, my kids won't eat them. So I thought, okay, I need to find a way to get the nutrition of vegetables into people in a way that's easy, doesn't taste bad, doesn't cause a lot of waste. So I looked at everything I found for my sister, and when I got to algae, that's when the miracle happened. Because first of all, it's the most alkaline food in the world. It's the most nutrient-dense food in the world. As you're going to find out, we have a quote from NASA that says 1 gram of algae has the same nutrition as 1,000 grams of fruits or vegetables. So we sell our algae in tablets, and there's about 1,000 tablets in one of the large bags. And one large bag has the same nutrition as 551 pounds of vegetables. To give you another visual, wow, that's 30 grocery carts of food in a large bag. This is a small bag here, but so the large bag's a little bit bigger. But anyway, so nutrient dense, alkaline, endorsed by the United Nations, NASA, and grown in Asia for the last 60 years. It's an agricultural crop, by the way. Algae is not a supplement. And the most important thing was it came in these little tiny tablets. And each one of these tablets has the same nutrition as an entire plate of vegetables. So while I'm talking to you right now, I just had a plate of vegetables.
Wow.
So now people can get the nutrition. There's 60% protein, 40 vitamins and minerals. They can get the green nutrition they need. No work. No, I chew them, but most people do swallow them. If you swallow them, there's no flavor. So there's no flavor, no waste. The bag lasts 3 years. There's no waste. They're safe for every age group: babies, kids, teenagers, pets, grandparents. And if you take 10 tablets a day, it works out to about $1 a day. So very affordable. So that was when I decided, okay, algae, I'm going to spend the rest of my life helping people understand algae because it's effortless, it's safe, it's scientifically proven. I forgot to mention that. There's 100,000 studies documenting all the health benefits we're going to talk about today. Everything from helping to stop cancer, helping to start heart disease, helping to stop aging, improves athletic performance, improves your mental acuity, helps with weight loss, helps with sleep, digestion, literally everything. And it's just a food, but it's a food that nobody knows about because it's not grown here in America. 99.9% of it is grown in Asia. So people just don't know about it because it's not grown here. And until I came along, nobody's been explaining what it is. Some people know spirulina, but they don't know why exactly it's good for them. So that's what I do. I break it down and help them understand.
I love that. Can I try one? Because before we get into it, I've never tried it. I'd love to give it a shot.
So this is this one's chlorella. So chlorella, and we'll talk about the differences because chlorella is a wellness detoxing algae. It tastes a bit like it's very green.
That's good.
It tastes like a soy nut or a sunflower seed, right? When you put sea salt on it or eat it with pistachio nuts or macadamia nuts, it's delicious. Absolutely delicious. So that's chlorella. That's the wellness detoxing algae. Usually we recommend it at night because that's when your body goes through a detox repair cycle.
Yeah, and what's the other one? This is
spirulina. This is the one we call energy bits. Now it's much chewier because it has the much higher protein and much higher essential fatty acids. So this one's 64% protein. Yeah, it's more of an acquired taste.
No, it's good. It does get stuck in your teeth when you chew it.
Yeah, it gets a little stuck to your teeth. The other one does not.
When you chew it, does that and you're not getting it into because you might get stuck in your teeth and you floss it out, does that limit the nutrients that you're taking?
Well, it'll eventually come out. It's fine. But if you don't like the flavor, you absolutely can swallow it. Years ago, we don't say it much but your audience might enjoy this. I came up with a saying, and actually I have the website. We had made T-shirts and headbands. And the headbands and the saying was, "It's okay to swallow."
That's so funny. Can we talk about what you used to be called?
I thought, we like to have a sense of humor, and it was informative and still, functional, help people know how to take it. But anyway, so.
No, it was really good.
Yeah.
It tastes good.
It wasn't so bad. And you can blend it and put it into a smoothie. You can put it into a trail mix if you're going hiking, or if you're if you're working out when you're traveling. They come in little pouches, individual pouches. So very, very handy. Just get it into you because it has so much nutrition. If you take it daily, and you do need at least 10 a day, 15 or 20 or even 30 or better, but it can replace your multivitamin, your CoQ10, your biotin, your collagen, fish oil for sure. There's 5 things that you can eliminate, and those are all individual supplements. Algae is a food. I can't take credit for algae because it's everywhere, but I can take credit for growing it carefully in such a way we save we protect the nutrients, and there aren't any toxins in it.
Yeah.
So it's really good stuff.
Very interesting. So for the audience, talk to me about, when I go to the smoothie store and I look at the ingredients, for example, at like a pressed juicery or something, I see usually it's like spirulina or sea moss, or I've even seen algae in some places. They're always just like ingredients that I'm like, I don't really think about. I'm not really educated. I feel like no one really talks about them.
Right. Nobody is.
Yeah. And for me, honestly, when I've had spirulina, I just get it because it makes the drink blue. And I'm like, oh, it's a blue drink. It looks cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think about the positive impacts that it has. So talk to me about, like, why do you feel like spirulina and algae are so discussed in our society?
Well, first of all, let me explain what algae is, because there's a huge amount of confusion
let's
there.
do it.
So algae is a food category. So there's not spirulina and algae. Spirulina is a type of algae. So algae is a food category, just like you have mushrooms as a food category, you have fruit as a food category. So first of all, algae is a food category.
And algae is the stuff that is on the bottom of the sea?
No, well, I'm going to tell you.
Okay, you go.
Okay, so algae is the food category. Then there are 2 subcategories. One is called macroalgae, and the other one is microalgae. We're mostly talking about microalgae, but let me first tell you what macroalgae is. It's that seaweed that washes up on shore, also known as kelp or dulse. Now, it's called seaweed because it's only in the sea. It's only from the oceans. You don't find macroalgae / seaweed in lakes. It's just in the ocean. And it has iodine because it comes from the ocean. But here's the thing. Macroalgae is mostly fiber. It's good for you because it has fiber, but it has virtually zero nutrition. So high fiber, zero nutrition, only a few strains, only in the ocean. Microalgae, which is what we're talking about, there's tens of thousands of strains. It's everywhere. The oceans, the lakes, the rivers, the soil, your aquarium, your swimming pool, and harvested as a food group. But it has either virtually no fiber or a little bit of fiber. Spirulina has no fiber. Chlorella has a little bit. But it's the most nutrient-dense food in the universe. It's called microalgae because it's microscopic in size. You can get like 1 million of them on the head of a pin. That's how tiny they are. That's why when you consolidate them into these little tablets, you get the equivalent nutrition of an entire plate of vegetables because it's all so consolidated. So microalgae, there's tens of thousands of strains. One strain is blue-green, one strain is green. And one strain of blue-green is spirulina, and one strain of green is chlorella. But when you read about a blue-green algae closing your favorite beach, we're not talking about spirulina. That's just another blue-green algae. And by the way, poor algae gets the bum rap because it gets blamed for closing your beach. Well, it only showed up because algae is the cleanup crew. It absorbs toxins and kills bacteria. Now, you couldn't see the bacteria or the toxins, but you can see the algae. And it's still toxic, so you don't want to get near it because it's absorbed all the toxins. But it's Mother Nature's cleanup crew, and it does the same thing in your body. It absorbs toxins and kills bacteria. So it's really good for you. But it's not spirulina. Spirulina and chlorella are 2 food types of algae, microalgae, that are harvested as food in fresh water. as I mentioned earlier, we grow ours in Taiwan. So, but people here, and then it leads me to the next question. You said, well, why don't people know about it? Well, there aren't any algae farms here in America. Here's a picture of an algae farm. One is the spirulina, and the other one's a chlorella. It's grown in. We grow ours in triple filtered spring mountain water, so there's no toxins. But nobody here knows about it because in Asia, you can't ride your bicycle to school or take a train to work or without going by an algae farm. It's as common as wheat or soy or corn or tomato patches or strawberries here. My plan is to grow it here because I live in Florida, and Taiwan is the gold standard for growing algae, because growing algae isn't like growing broccoli. It's like making wine. So it's affected by the angle of the sun and the production processes. So the angle of the sun in Taiwan, for whatever reason, gets the highest concentration of nutrition. So I drew a line from Taiwan across the globe to America, boom, got to Florida. So my plan is to build huge algae farms in Florida one day.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, okay, interesting. So talk to me about that. So like when things are grown in Taiwan and then they're brought to the U.S., isn't there potential for contamination as they're brought over?
Well, there's always potential. The contamination primarily would occur during either the growing process or the drying process. What distinguishes us from almost everybody else is that we don't use high heat to dry our algae, and this is really important because there's a couple of nutrients in here, especially in spirulina, not found in anything else in the entire world. Nothing. But they are deactivated by high heat. So when you go to Trader Joe's or Costco and probably all these places that have spirulina powder, I can almost promise you they bought them from a place where they made and grew the algae either in China or India, and it was low cost. And so these companies, they cut corners to get to market quickly because they have to sell more.
Yeah.
And they use high heat to do that. And it deactivates a couple of the nutrients that are absolutely pivotal. So one of the reasons why people aren't getting the full benefit of spirulina or chlorella is because they're not getting a product that has been preserved with all the nutrition like they do with ours. So, and for toxins, it's really the growing process, because once it's tableted and then it's put into bags and containers, and then, we get huge supplies. We package everything here. We have entire cargo ships bringing over our tablets. But as a company that's growing, I want to have complete control on location of my plant and my everything that's going on, so I can observe it, hands on. I am going over there in the fall, actually, so we'll get some video content for me by our farms. So
let's go.
Yeah, right.
That's incredible. So question for you. We had a guest by the name of Doug Evans, shout out to Doug, of the Sprouting Company, he's all about sprouting, right?
Yeah, like sprouts are great too.
Bean sprouts and stuff. And, I've seen in the news, there was a lady who swore, I think by like the vegan, or like she was eating a lot of fruits. And just for life, she was just eating fruits. I'm pretty sure it's fruits. And then she passed away recently. And I was like, okay, she probably OD'd on the fruits. You know what I mean? And so the way that I like to look at health from my perspective is it's a balance of all the important, electrolytes, the foods, the proteins, the fats, the carbohydrates, etc. And so I think as people are looking at and exploring spirulina and chlorella, I think it's also important to sort of, set the standard or the structure or foundation of how much of each you should have in relation to the other things in your diet as well, like water, et cetera. So where does it fit in? How much should people be having? And also I want to talk about the other aspects of health in terms of digestible things and liquids that they should be having to create this like perfect diet. Like what does the perfect diet look like, and how does spirulina and chlorella fit into that diet?
Well, first of all, there is no one perfect diet because everyone's different. They have different blood types. They have different lifestyles. They have different sensitivities. They have different digestion issues. They, different age. You can or you have difficulty absorb. It's not what you eat; it's what you absorb. However, that being said, spirulina and chlorella will elevate and improve any lifestyle dietary choice that you have, anyone. So for a variety of reasons. Number one, let's get back to the food choice. I don't know if you've ever heard of Dr. Casey Means. She's so, and I work a lot with her, and she had some great posts recently, and she mentioned something that I taught in my classes. The trouble with vegetables is that they lose their nutrition 50% within 24 hours of being harvested, and then another 20% in the next 48 hours, and then another 20%. Basically, all of our food is being grown in foreign countries. By the time it gets harvested, it's harvested before it's actually ripened, because they need to get it into the warehouse. So the enzymes and nutrients aren't in the fruit. They're not in the leaves. I can't buy strawberries anymore because they're all white inside. They used to be pink. They used to be delicious. Yeah. They're not anymore. Doesn't matter where you buy them. So even if you're eating organic, you are not getting the nutrition that you need. Sprouting is great, and because with sprouts, they are the germination of all the nutrients are contained in the sprout. So it's a really great thing to definitely add to your nutrition. And unless you have your own vegetable garden so that you can eat what you pull out of the ground within a few hours, we are getting fiber and calories, but we are not getting nutrition. And the vast majority of people aren't even eating organic, and they're not even vegetables. They're eating processed foods. So the reason why everyone's getting sick is twofold in my mind. We're missing critical nutrients, and we are full of toxins. Spirulina fills all of the nutritional gaps. We measure 40 vitamins and minerals, but there's probably like 200. It has all the carotenoids. It has pigments like the chlorophyll. The blue one is called phycocyanin. Highest protein in the world, highest chlorophyll in the world. All the electrolytes. It's only missing a couple of things, but it complements absolutely everything. So that's why I call spirulina your nutritional insurance, because whatever else you eat, you're eating for pleasure, visual pleasure, taste pleasure, lifestyle choices, but you're getting the nutrition that you need. And I did the analysis and found out that the same amino acids in spirulina are identical to mother's breast milk, which we know is the perfect food. So spirulina, I consider the second most important food to mother's breast milk, and you can't very well have mother's breast milk after the age of 2.
It would be weird if you did, guys.
Yeah. So every single person is missing something because our nutritional offerings just don't fill the gap. They did studies and show that broccoli has 50% or 80% less nutrition than it did 50 years ago, and most people aren't even eating broccoli. So this is why I love spirulina and chlorella in the tablet form, because they're so easy. You just swallow them. So to answer your question about how many to take, the spirulina, because it fills nutritional gaps, satisfies your hunger, gives you mental and physical energy. It heals and protects your mitochondria, which generates cellular energy. You're going to need at least 10 tablets a day as a base level to fill nutritional gaps. But this is the one situation where more is truly better. We fuel NH to L teams. We just started working with an FL team. We fuel Olympic teams. We have marathon runners, triathletes, ultra runners. They run 100 miles, 48 hours at a time, only on spirulina and water, because it's so nourishing to the entire body. No sugar, no chemicals, no processing. It doesn't upset your stomach. Gets into your body quickly. So it's amazing what it does. And the kind of energy you get is not like a stimulant. A stimulant is like caffeine or sugar, where you get a burst and then a crash. It's like putting paper on a fire. Chlorella or spirulina, because it stimulates energy at the cellular level, is like putting a log on the fire. It's very steady. You might not even notice it, but it fills nutritional gaps. So if you're intermittent fasting, it's fantastic because it does not interfere with your fast, and you won't be hangry. If you're ketogenic, it's loaded with essential fatty acids, and it will keep you in a ketogenic state, and so that's terrific too. And if you just want fast nourishment and get out the door, boom, you're good to go. So 10 would be the entry level. But if you're an athlete, or if you are correcting or want to prevent a health condition, I think you really should be getting closer to 20 to 30 tablets a day of the spirulina. And you could take it 10 in the morning, 10 at lunch, 10 in the afternoon. Most people have a big drop in energy around 3 o'clock. I think it's when your cortisol is at its lowest level. So this is another great time to take another 10 or 15 spirulina. There's only 1 calorie per tablet, so it will.
Doesn't that technically break your fast?
No. As long as you don't have carbs, and as long as you keep your the protein below, I think 10 grams. Dr. Mindy Peltz, who's a friend of mine, she talks a lot about this, and we've done lots of intermittent fasting, and we've done tests at events where people do their blood glucose level, then they have the algae, and then they test again. There's no spike in glucose at all. In fact, if anything, it drops. So it's really good if you're diabetic. It will balance out your sugar. So and there's 18 of the 20 aminos in spirulina and chlorella as well, and including the 9 your body can't make. So it's a complete protein. It's literally the perfect food. Honestly, it's unbelievable. But you do need to take it every day. And when you do, you can drop out of taking a multivitamin, fish oil, CoQ10, collagen powder. You can eliminate a handful of things.
Yeah. Very interesting. I have a couple questions.
And then I want to talk about chlorella because it's quite different.
Let's definitely get into that. I had a buddy in high school who was on the football team, and he had drank too much electrolytes during his football game. He had I think 7 or 8 Gatorades and then powders, and he just did a ton of electrolytes, and he ended up passing away from internal drowning.
Oh, Jesus.
Because he had his electrolytes were just all imbalanced.
Yeah.
And which rest in peace. But I'm curious. With something like chlorella and spirulina,
I know it's okay.
That's a hard word.
I know. That's why we call them bits. It's easier to say.
We'll just call them naughty bits.
Yeah. No.
Is there a level that's too much? Can you OD on spirulina and chlorella?
I have to say no. I wouldn't recommend more than 200. 200. I mean,
200 tablets a day.
And I'll tell you what I take, but I am not recommending this because remember, I don't have to pay for them, and I just love them so much, and it gives me so much energy. But I've had over 100 every day for 15 years.
And you're
now when I started my company, you have to remember this was 15 years ago. I had no nutrition background, and I actually had no money, and so literally for 2 years, the only food I could afford were my algae tablets, and you know what the other one was? Eggs. I literally lived on eggs and algae for 2 years. And you know the funny thing is, you know what my 2 favorite foods are still? Eggs and algae.
That's crazy.
So I've been a big user of this myself personally for a very long time, but I'm not suggesting that anyone else necessarily needs to feel they have to take that much. However, if you have a health condition, if you are recovering from one or are concerned about a diagnosis for one, you should be taking 30. 30 is more of a medicinal quantity. And if you have had a very serious diagnosis, you could double down on that and triple it up and whatever, because there is no drug interactions, 0 contraindications.
Really?
Period. Ever. In 70 years, not one. Yeah. Not one.
So that was my next question for you. My mom recently, thank God she's still with us, she had a double lung transplant. So she got 2 brand new lungs.
Oh my gosh.
And she's on a ton of medication, Seroquel, prednisone, thousands of them. And the doctor said that there are certain things like honey, for example, that she's not supposed to have, which to me is crazy because honey is one of the best things on the planet. But there's a list of you shouldn't have this, you shouldn't have this, you shouldn't have this. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I feel like she probably would be fine. Or are they just saying that because they're doctors and they want her to double down on the dosages? We're paying the money for the medicine.
Yeah.
So you're saying, my question for you was, is there any people who have certain conditions that shouldn't be having spirulina or chlorella? But it sounds like there are no restrictions.
Well, first of all, I'm not a medical doctor, and so I always will defer. I never want to get into a situation where someone has abandoned their advice. Unfortunately, medical doctors know virtually 0 about nutrition. It's just the way it is.
Amen.
And unfortunately, they have they're bifocaled or blindsided, whatever. But I don't want to go down that path. So functional medicine doctors are probably a little easier to work with because they have had that kind of education. But with spirulina, I have not in any research or anecdotally or anything, and I've read thousands and thousands, there's 100,000 studies out there, and I've read about 4,000 of them, so a fair amount. Nothing ever suggests spirulina would cause a problem. Now, we've had people who are on blood thinners saying, my doctor doesn't want me to take this. Well, ironically, spirulina, what it does is it reduces the inflammation in your blood vessels. So ultimately, you probably don't need those blood thinners. But the doctors don't understand it. They can't recommend it. They will not recommend something if there are not big, huge multi-billion-dollar clinical trial. So you will never get, that's why the fact that my sister's oncologist recommended a alkaline diet, which wasn't specifically targeted to any particular food, but the fact that she even said that was unbelievable, first of all. But doctors will not recommend foods. It's just the way it is. And spirulina is a food. So spirulina, I'm quite confident would be helpful to any age group with any health condition. And you can always start really slowly. We've had people tell us, they got off their depression medication because they forgot to take it on a holiday, but they had their spirulina with them. So they doubled their dose. And when they came back, they were feeling great and they just never got back on their medication. And can't argue with that. Same with allergies. We've had people whose allergies, seasonal allergies, have dropped or disappeared because this reduces the release of histamines in your body. It strengthens your mitochondria, and your mitochondria what generates cellular energy for everything, whether it's for your lungs, your brain, your heart. So as long as you have stronger mitochondria and more of them, everything's going to work better. Everything.
Yeah.
So now chlorella, and I do want to talk about chlorella. It is a detoxing algae. So what it will not satisfy your hunger and it will not give you energy. It builds your immune system and pulls out toxins, including all heavy metals. We're talking lead, mercury, radiation, aluminum. It pulls out alcohol. It doesn't matter whether it's wine, beer, spirits, because your body converts it into toxins. Athletes love it because it pulls out lactic acid. So it's a detoxing algae. It's a cleansing algae. Now, there are some medications like not viruses, vaccines that do have metals in them, like aluminum. So I would recommend, quite honestly, that if someone's getting a vaccine, you get some chlorella into you the next day to pull out any excess metals. And if you're on any kind of chemotherapy, definitely take chlorella the next day. It will pull out the excess chemo so you're not as nauseous. But I'm not aware of any other medications that have metals in them, but just to be careful, if you are on medications, we recommend, and we have no science for or against this, we just suggest maybe take the chlorella a couple hours before or a couple hours after your medication, because it takes an hour and a half for the chlorella to get fully absorbed. Spirulina is absorbed instantly because there's no cellulose wall. Chlorella takes a good hour and a half. But on the drinking side, if you took, you'll need 30 for detox. Again, 10 of the chlorella will give you immune health benefits, but you need the 30 for the detox. Now, remember, I take them, way more than that every day. So if you took it after you're drinking, you are stone sober in an hour and a half, and you will never have a hangover, ever.
Wow.
Ever. It's unbelievable. I think it's one of the reasons why the hockey players love it so much, because, they're big drinkers. They need the spirulina to get the focus on the ice, those fast spurts, but then they use actually the the chlorella to pull out the lactic acid, but then of course they go partying, and this will pull out the all the alcohol. But it's probably a good segue into the chlorella, because again, spirulina is very much the nourishing, energizing. It helps you focus, satisfies your hunger, gets you out the door, it's a great pre-workout. You like working out, so I would suggest you take 20 or 30 before your next workout.
Wow.
You will have the best. I promise you will have the best workout. You won't even notice it. You'll lift more, you'll lift longer, or you'll run further, or you'll run faster, and you won't even notice it. It's that kind of subtle energy. But with chlorella, which is the wellness algae, detoxing algae, it builds your immune system and pulls out toxins with the hard cell wall. Now, chlorella's, again, we call it recovery bits because it helps you recover. Its claim to fame is that it has the highest chlorophyll in the world. Spirulina has the highest protein in the world. Chlorophyll is the green pigment in plants. Mm-hmm. The problem is our soils are so damaged, the plants don't have any chlorophyll in them anymore. So nobody is getting the amount of chlorophyll that they need for medicinal purposes, which is why a lot of people take chlorophyll water.
Yeah. Well,
chlorella has 25 times more chlorophyll than chlorophyll water. Has 500 times more than arugula. We could fill this entire room with arugula we're sitting in, and this one tablet would have more chlorophyll than an entire room of arugula. Wow. It's so concentrated. This is called chlorella because it's loaded with chlorophyll. Right?
That makes sense.
And chlorophyll builds your blood. The chemical composition of chlorophyll is virtually identical to your hemoglobin, the red blood cells. The only difference is your blood cells have an iron atom in the middle, which carries oxygen. So when you take chlorophyll, and chlorella has the highest chlorophyll, you are building your blood. You are building your blood. That's why they used to use chlorophyll for the injured for up until like 150 years ago. They would always give the injured liquid chlorophyll. Even during World War II, if they ran out of blood for transfusions, they would give the injured liquid chlorophyll, and they would heal just as fast as if they'd had a blood transfusion because it builds your blood. Chlorophyll also kills bacteria in your mouth, in your colon, in your entire body. So it's very, very good for maintaining your health that way. And it has fiber in the cell wall, which feeds your gut biome. And it has all the nutrients that your immune system needs. And by the way, 80% of your immune system is in your gut. So you think chlorella is really a gut health, immune health, detoxing algae. And because you go through a detox repair when you're sleeping, you can take chlorella any time of day, but we want you to take it before bed for sure. Any time of day, but definitely for bed. Because when you're sleeping, that's when your body goes through a detox repair cycle. So while you're getting your beauty rest, chlorella is pulling out aluminum in your head. It's pulling out the glyphosate in your bloodstream. It's pulling out the alcohol that maybe you had. And it has something called chlorella growth factor, which speeds up the growth of your own cell walls. It stimulates stem cells. And it has the highest tryptophan in the world, which is a precursor to melatonin, which helps you sleep. So it doesn't make you sleepy, but it will help you get into a sleep. And then, as if that wasn't enough, it stimulates what's called peristalsis, which is known as a bowel movement.
Let's go.
I know a lot of people don't like to talk about bowel movements, but more people are constipated than you would believe. If you're on medications, I'm sure your mother's constipated. She's on medications. If you're eating dairy, if you're traveling, if you're stressed, if you're eating processed foods, if you're eating rice, these are constipating. And so chlorella has a magic to it. It's a blend of the chlorophyll and the nutrients, and boom, you'll just have a nice happy trip.
Let's go
to the bathroom. I say, let's get rid of that junk in your trunk. So chlorella is very much a pulling out of things that shouldn't be there, and spirulina is putting in things that you need. So spirulina is putting nourishment in, chlorella is pulling toxins out.
Yeah. Let's go. These are like two superheroes right there, bro. I feel like there should be like a superhero named Spirulina.
Yeah, I know.
And its sidekick is Chlorella.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
We should start that.
Yeah.
I get 20%.
Yeah.
Or more, maybe 30%.
Well, people call them superfoods, and I call them super duper foods.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, you're super knowledgeable on this stuff. It's super interesting. I want to kind of take it a little different direction now that we've kind of gotten the background on the two things.
Sure.
I'm personally very fascinated with like plastic versus glass water bottles, things like sunscreen. I have a lot of questions about nicotine because it's something that I'm really struggling with right now. Although I love, shout out Lucy Nicotine, I'm an investor. We love those things. But I'm really struggling with that because I hear, with nicotine in particular, people say, oh, it could be used for nootropics. Before you go to the gym, it gives you that extra boost that you need. Some people say it causes prostate cancer, it causes esophageal cancer. Microplastics can cause cancer. I hear that people say that. There's a lady by the name of Dr. Barbara O'Neill, if you're familiar with her.
No, I'm not.
She talks about the three worst things that you can put in your body are pork, processed foods, and water that's been sitting in a hot car that was in a plastic water bottle.
That's
so I have all these questions. So I want to see if I could pick your brain a bit about those things in particular. Well, let's start with nicotine. Are you familiar with nicotine?
Well, I've read, I'm very unknowledgeable about a lot of these topics, sadly, because I had a choice to go wide or go deep, and I decided to go deep. So I have been reading recently about nicotine having some benefits for energy, and it was the trouble with the smoking was that wasn't the nicotine so much, it was the smoke. Although vaping is causing as many problems now as smoking was. But my position on all that is, why use something that has potential problems or downside when you could use something that has zero downside? If you are given those choices, 1,000 reasons yes, no no's, maybe 50 yeses, 50 no's, why even enter that conversation?
Yeah.
There is not a single downside to spirulina other than the fact that you will feel great and will live long.
Yeah.
Nothing. And it's safe for everyone, every age, for every reason, including your pets. And it's good for the environment too. So that would be the only thing I could say is that if you're looking for energy, go for spirulina. If you want brain health, go for spirulina. If you want improvement in anything, go for spirulina. Yeah. It just is the way it is. The science is there, and I want to provide something that works for everybody every time.
Yeah. I love how you brought that back. That was great. You brought it right back to spirulina and chlorella. I want to do something. I just thought about it. I want my dog to try these things. Can we do that on the podcast?
Sure. Yeah,
I'm going to go get her.
Yeah.
Are you
okay if she comes? Yeah.
This is Winter.
Sometimes Winter. Okay, that's sometimes they have a. It's tough for them to get it into their tongue, but
we'll see how this goes.
Because they're so light.
Do you have a treat? You want to push it into a treat? Nah, she'll just eat it. All right, guys. This is Winter the Pomsky. Winter, say hi to the cam. Okay, she's gonna live try spirulina and chlorella. Let's see how this goes.
So this one's. What did I give you first? I have to chew it to find.
Oh, she's ready, dude.
Not spirulina.
She's ready.
Okay, this is spirulina. So you give it to her.
This one is which one?
Spirulina.
And she can have 4 of them?
Oh, yeah.
Come on, have some. Oh, chewy. It's chewy. Oh, she liked it. She liked it. Let's go.
It's my girl.
Dang. She's a healthy dog.
She's going to be
wow. You know what's crazy? Honestly, I thought she wasn't going to eat it. Okay, but she had all 4 of them. Let's try the other one now.
Chlorella now.
She just takes a fat poop on me. This is the chlorella?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the wellness one. This is the one we call recovery bits.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes they like one over the other, but in most cases, we had a client write us, and she said they'd gone camping in the Appalachians, and a bear broke into their campground. So everybody scattered and came back about 2 hours later, and they found that the baggie of all their supplements had been ripped open, but all the supplements were still there, and the bag of Energy Bits spirulina tablets had been ripped open and licked clean. Wow. So even the bears knew what was good for them, right? That's
crazy. Yeah, she ate them all. She really liked them.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, okay. So now I'll just warn you, she's going to want more. So
she's staring at the
bag. Yeah. Right. I had somebody send me a video. They were babysitting a baby raccoon, and they put the tablets down on the floor, and the raccoon ate them right away. So then they thought, well, let's put the bag down on the floor, and they opened it, and the raccoon went right into the bag, and that was the last we saw of the raccoon. You can't fool animals. They are intuitive and instinctive, and they'll know what's good for them. So that's terrific. I love that. Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah. Really great for your pets. They have the same health problems as humans do.
Yeah.
So
let's go. So question, where do you see this going? Like how big is the algae and spirulina market? Like talk to me about the business side of this.
Well, it should be a multi-billion-dollar industry in Asia, and has been for 50 years. 50. It's as big as the beef industry is here. Just try to wrap your head around that something that big is so misunderstood or not known at all here in America. It's a travesty. It's an absolute travesty. So it will be a multi-billion-dollar agricultural industry here as well. It just needed somebody to take the initiative.
Yeah.
Because the United Nations had a global conference in 1974 on using spirulina to cure world hunger. They endorsed spirulina then. And the science about algae has been around for 60, 70 years. So the scientists know about it. There's a huge undercurrent. Algae is used for packaging, for fabric, for fish feed, for animal feed, but nobody has been able to communicate its benefits to the consumer in a way that they are responding or package it.
Yeah.
So that's what we've been doing and providing a safe source. And for me, the next step is now to grow it here in large quantities. Yeah. So I'm planning on building a very large company to make, because also I want to make a difference in the world. Once we have started growing it ourselves, and there's different ways to grow it. The traditional way is using, they call them ponds. So they're in water, it's hydroponic ponds. That's how a lot of vegetables are grown now. But there's a new technique, and I'm going to do both of them. The new technique is to grow it underground in glass tubes using LED lights. This is how they grow it. They've been doing this in Iceland. There's a farm in Iceland. They have 5 floors underground where they are growing spirulina in glass tubes.
Wow.
There's another farm in Austria doing the same thing. They're doing it in tubes above ground. We're working with another company in Spain underground. So this truly is the future for algae, because then regardless of the climate, whether it's a desert, you just have to have a good water source. That's the only key thing. You have to have water source, but you don't need to be basing it on the climatic condition. And it's not quite as pure as the outdoor, but it's 90% there. So my plan is grow the company to a very big corporation, help teach other people, other countries how to grow this for themselves, because we cannot feed the world. We cannot feed the world. Algae will feed the world, but it has to be done everywhere so that you don't have a footprint. You don't want to be transporting it back and forth. I want to have the equivalent of the Disneyland of algae, where we have busloads of kids coming in. We show them the farm. We give them an algae lunch. We give them tchotchkes made of algae. I want to create what I call the Algae Academy, where we have people get certified in algae nutrition knowledge, just like you can get certified in paleo education or functional medicine. There's so much there. So, and we have other products that we want to launch, but we're sticking with these one right now because we're still a small company. We're completely self-funded. Yeah. Completely self-funded. I was on Shark Tank. I don't know if you know that.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Talk to me about Shark Tank.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
Yeah. So it was like 8 years. It was a long time ago, 7 or 8 years ago. And they made fun of me, and I told them not to chew them. I told them to swallow them. You have to remember, Shark Tank's still a TV show. Okay. So it's for entertainment.
Totally.
And I didn't want their money, even if they had wanted to invest, and they didn't want to invest.
What was their pushback? Why didn't they want to invest?
They said nobody would ever eat it, period. So, because it tastes green.
I thought it was great. It tasted good.
8 years ago, this is pre-COVID, people weren't emphasizing wellness like they are now.
Yeah, that's true.
And also, they want to be able to take a product into Target or Walmart or something. And we're a high prestige, high quality, medical grade product. So it wasn't really a fit for them. So it was a combination of those things. They felt that I was a big dreamer and wasn't practical. And, one day when I show them what we're doing financially when we get there, I mean, we've doubled revenue every year in the last 3 years, and we will double again this year. All self-funded. We are bootstrapped from the ground up.
Let's go.
15 years of me working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, being called names, and I just, because I've seen the science. I know what this stuff will do. I refuse to give up. So, and now the world is ready for it. They're open for it. They're looking for it. The biohacking community wants things that work, that are closer to nature. They could be devices, but they are also things like this. And this elevates all the other biohacks, by the way.
Yeah.
So, you can't argue with the truth. When you've found something that's honest and true and works. But I will say you have to get good algae for it to work properly. And all those other less expensive algae companies do cut corners, but ours works every single time. And I'm proud of that. And it's because we've worked very, very hard to ensure integrity and quality. That's awesome. I love it. Who was your favorite shark? They all have their nuances. I got a kick out of Mark Cuban, although apparently he's much healthier now. But he was the loudest. And I don't make judgments. Yeah, I don't get angry. I don't get a in your face kind of thing. See, I told you so. That's not my way, because this isn't about me. It's about algae, and so this is to help other people improve their lives. And sometimes you just know more than someone else, and you just have to wait for them to catch up to you.
Amen. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, let them see the work that you're doing. I think it's beautiful how driven and mission driven you are, because I mean, this stuff is real. Like when I go to grocery stores, I can't go anywhere near the middle section of the grocery store. I'm only on the outside. I'm by the yogurts, the eggs, the meats, the vegetables, the fruits, and I'm out.
Yeah.
But everything in the middle is literally
Processed.
garbage. It's junk.
Yeah, you might as well eat the cardboard the stuff.
Yeah,
there's nothing in there.
It's terrible. And I see kids around me that their parents are feeding them this stuff, and like things like goldfish, even like Sour Patch Kids. I'm like, cereals. Like these things are terrible. They're killing our children. And so I guess my question for you is, do you see a world where spirulina and algae and chlorella specifically will be more openly available in retail stores?
Absolutely. In Asia, they put spirulina and chlorella in everything. Here we put chia seeds or
which are good too,
which
right?
are fine. Yeah. But my point is that they have been finding ways to use it in its full form, but also as an ingredient in other things. So there's always protein, there's always chlorophyll, there's always these nutrients. But just from a business perspective, that's a grocery store distribution model.
Yeah.
And as a small company, anybody has to go into the grocery store channel. There's no margins. They will put you on the shelf and pull you. We were in Neiman Marcus for 6 months, and we thought we were so excited to get into Neiman's, but then we had to train all their employees at each of the stores.
Yeah.
And then they pulled us, and we spent $100,000 to get a $10,000 order. It was so my point is, when you go into retail as a business, it's a very high risk proposition, and we couldn't do that. And so we do mostly direct to consumer through our website, energybits.com. We also sell through longevity clinics and medical clinics because of the high quality. We're not interested in retail. Sorry if anyone's listening. I'm not interested in retail.
Don't reach out to her about retail stores.
Yeah. Not even Whole Foods, because they play this margin game, and you can ship them hundreds of thousands of dollars of product, and if it doesn't sell, they'll just dump it or send it back to you. But then you might have. Fortunately, we have a 3-year expiry date, which is I didn't mention, so it doesn't. You can hold it for a very long time. But other companies, if they're having a food product, very often their expiry date is 2 months or 3 months. Yeah. And so if you get shut out of the grocery store, you spent all that money to produce something, and then they don't pay you. The terms are 60 to 90 days. The whole retail model for a small business is very precarious.
Yeah.
If anyone's listening who's an entrepreneur, I urge you to build your brand online first. Yeah. It gives you leverage, it gives you strength, it gives you customers, but you need to educate them. Don't sell them, educate them. And that's what we've done. We focus on science and education. And it's taken 15 years, but and that's why we also didn't go for venture capital, because they aren't patient. They invest and they want their money out within 5 years. And I knew this was not going to be a sprint. I knew this was going to be a marathon. So I had to hunker down and just tough it out. I had the office in my apartment for 8 years. The first 8 years, there wasn't a square inch in my apartment in Boston that did not have product, or we had inventory in my bathtub. It was everywhere. Yeah. So it's being an entrepreneur is all about deferred gratification.
Amen. Patience and diligence, day in and day out.
Yeah. So that's why you have to be passionate about what you're doing, and passion will keep you going until something clicks. And we're very, very lucky that now people are interested, curious, and doesn't matter what angle you come at us or our algae, we have answers, we have integrity, and we're proud of what we do.
I love it. I really love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on and giving us the science in the background. I guess I have one last closing question for you, which is, you just told me you're turning 70. Congratulations next year.
Yeah.
And you look fantastic. I mean,
you
you should see my parents. Shout out to my parents. You guys are amazing. But there's levels, right? Yeah. And honestly, I'm 28. I aspire to be where you're at. I mean, your energy, your movement. I mean, you're incredible. what are some like tricks and tips for people that maybe are in their 40s, 50s, 60s that maybe they're losing confidence because they can feel their body, starting to hurt a little bit, or they're just not feeling as excited about life anymore. Yeah. And I'm 28 and I can already feel like my lower back's starting to hurt.
Yeah.
Like what's some advice that you would give people to really focus in on achieving longevity and just being like a happier, healthier version of themselves?
Well, first of all, we've been on Earth for 2 million years, and up until about 150 years ago, we always died at 30. So there are things biological.
2 years left.
Yeah, there are biological changes that start happening at 30, and they increase at 40, and there's nothing you can do about it. Your body stops; it reduces its ability to generate melatonin. For women, we lose estrogen, and everybody loses this nutrient called, I know it's a mouthful, superoxide dismutase, also known as SOD. And what this stuff, SOD, does, it's in your body from the moment you're born until the age of 40. It protects your mitochondria from damage. And after 40, you have zero of it, and so your mitochondria start getting damaged. And when you have damaged mitochondria, you have less cellular energy. You are more likely to get chronic disease of any kind, whether it's heart disease, Alzheimer's, cancer, and you have accelerated aging because your mitochondria, there's fewer of them. Mitochondria are the powerhouse of your cell, of your body. They keep the lights on, basically. And so as you get older, your lights go out because the mitochondria get damaged. The most important thing you can start doing, and I'm sorry to say, and this is not a pat on the back for me, you need to get taking spirulina, because spirulina is the only source of superoxide dismutase in the universe. Well, it's spirulina and chlorella. Spirulina has 3 times as much. This will start protecting your mitochondria again, so you don't get damaged mitochondria, and it happens to everybody. Women suffer more because they also lose estrogen, which also protects your mitochondria. The most important thing is to get that SOD working again into your system to protect your mitochondria. You can never start too early, so you can start now, but certainly by 40, you better be taking spirulina every day, because otherwise there is no other way to protect your mitochondria from free radical damage. So that's number 1. Number 2, sleep. Sleep is a godsend. Amen. Never apologize for needing more sleep. This is when your body repairs itself. And the trouble is, as you get older, you have less melatonin. You're probably more stressed, so you're probably getting less sleep. So you need to have a sort of program, sort of ritual that gets you wound down, shut off your devices, do some meditations. A candle is lovely. I always have a candle and a light meditative music. Sometimes I read a little bit before bed, but get your body prepared. And part of that preparation, by the way, is to get outside during the day, because your eyes need to see sunlight to know to set your circadian rhythm, so it knows it was daylight, and when there's less of that light, it will help you get into a sleep. So a sleep mask is really important to wear when you're sleeping, to block out any of the extraneous light. So get yourself on a routine. Try to stay on the same. I know if you're on a different traveling a lot, it's hard to get a regular routine, but try to get your sleep, and don't ever apologize for needing sleep, because that's when your body repairs for you. So spirulina algae for sure, chlorella for taking out toxins, sleep for sure, and movement, particularly building muscle. I was guilty of not doing work. I love to work out, but I was building the company and I didn't have time to do as much muscular weight building. And you lose muscle very rapidly, particularly after the age of 40. By the way, aging is natural, declining is not. And what they're realizing is your muscle mass, it's actually an organ. And so you need to maintain that muscle mass. And so I'm on a program now to build back my muscle mass, because I lost a fair amount of it by focusing on work too much, and particularly women. So you can, as you get to 50, and certainly, and after that, with all these loss of mitochondria, and if you've lost your muscle mass as well, you can either get bitter or you can get better. And so I know which one I'm choosing. And so I would encourage everyone else to do the same thing. And don't wait for your muscle to start to decline, because it's much easier to maintain it than to build it, particularly as you get older. So again, spirulina and potentially chlorella, sleep, muscle mass, any kind of movement, because it's not just strength, it's mobility, which is agility and flexibility. So things like yoga, stretching, it could be Pilates, anything that's giving you mobility, movement, because as you get older, whether it's, squatting, they say you can do a 1 minute of air squats. It's the equivalent improvement to your vascular system as half an hour of running. So just in between meetings, just do a few squats. It doesn't require any devices of any kind. So and sunlight's very healing. Not too much. You don't get to get burned. Just get the vitamin D3, get the light into your eyes. You'll notice that all the things that I'm mentioning are either free, and I lump algae in there because we have a discount code for your audience that will give them 20% off. And so when you buy the large bags using your discount code and you take 10 tablets a day and you buy the large bag, which has 1,000 tablets, it works out to $1 a day. Everybody can afford $1 a day. That's 10 tablets a day. So the tablets, the sleep, the movement, the eyes, the sunlight, breath, these are all free. These are all natural things provided to us. And we think we have to get all these fancy devices and patches and whatever. And they're great. They're great add-ons, but there's an 80-20 rule that works on anything, whether it's your personal life, your work life, and 80% of the stuff that's going to do great things for you are free or very affordable, like algae. The other 20% are fun and nice and exciting, and that's the shiny object, but you'll get most of your progress from these other things that cost you nothing.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah, you hit all the things that I was thinking about. So thank you for that. I really appreciate you coming on. For those of them, the audience members that don't follow you and the company, where can they find you?
Yes, well, the website is energybits.com, and we do have a discount code for you, which I don't have in front of me. I'm so sorry, but you can post it on.
We'll put it on there.
So energybits.com, and then in the coupon box, just type the discount code. We're very active on social, so Energy Bits is the handle. I do have my own personal handle now. It's just new, Catharine Arnston, but Energy Bits is the main one for sure. And we post a blog every month full of science and information. So join us on our newsletter because we have lots of specials and early special things for people. But honestly, it's a game changer for your life. I don't care whether you're carnivore, paleo, vegan, 5 years old, 50 years old. This stuff will help you, help your family, your furry family, and it's natural, proven, scientifically proven, endorsed by international agencies, easy to take, safe, pure. Can't go wrong. Algae will love you back to health.
I love it. That's so beautiful. And my dog approved it, so you got that stamp of approval. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Divij podcast. Make sure you guys go follow Energy Bits. Go follow Dr. Catharine
yes, the doctor, I guess. But Catharine Arnston is it's Catharine with 2 A's, Catharine.
There you go.
Just a little unusual thing.
Go follow Catharine, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys leave a review. I'm going to drop the coupon code down below so you guys can type that in at energybits.com.
Yes.
And stay tuned for potentially a part 2. We can maybe go deeper into algae.
Yeah, you got it.
But we'll see you guys next episode, and have a great day. Bye.